Hello, LifeWave family. My name is Gary Johnson. I am the U.S. and Canada General Manager. It is my pleasure to come to you today to have our LifeWave Connect business webinar for the month of July. We have a very exciting webinar planned for today for you. We're excited that you're here with us. We have a lot that we're going to be covering. And we just want to start off by just saying thank you for being here. As part of being a member of the LifeWave family for almost 2 years now, it has been an incredible experience being able to see the impact that we're having all over the world. We certainly were coming in out of a month in particular where we had our best month ever, so the month of June. Now, it tends to be a trend in our industry that when you get to the months that start with a J, things start to slow down, but that is not the case here. June was our biggest month in the U.S. and in the company, but also, we're going into July, and it is another incredible month. And so certainly seeing the growth and the excitement that's happening all over LifeWave right now is inspiring. And everything that each of you are doing to be part of that, we certainly recognize and we say thank you for everything that you are doing. Well, we are, as we're coming in, we take a look, and I'd love if everyone wants to just post in kind of where they're calling in from or listening in from. We'd love to be able to see kind of, because we know we have people from all over the world. We've already had some that already come in and kind of post as well, but now we're seeing them come from, looks like all over the U.S., the UK, love all over the world, really. So this is exciting, and I love seeing the interaction and the feedback that we're getting. Now, one of the things too that I want to that as we go through this webinar today, there's going to be some questions that you might have that you want to ask. Feel free to go ahead and post in the question and answer section, because sometimes when you post in the web chat, we don't see it because it can sometimes move very quickly, like it is right now as we see where everyone is calling in from. So thank you for sharing that. And letting us see kind of where you're calling in from. This one we want to be a little bit interactive as well, because we're going to be talking about a topic that I think really does allow us to be able to help each other as we go through this. We have some amazing speakers who I'm going to introduce in just a second, but our topic is elevating your leadership and the power of lifelong learning. And as we kind of understand this idea of personal development, it's going to be important to be able to find out what works for you. And so we'll give you some time to be able to share some of the things that you do as well. Now let's get started. We have an amazing couple who's going to be with us today that's going to share their knowledge and understanding. Andy and Mandy Hosier have been with LifeWave for a little while now, but they certainly are not new to this industry. They have been in the industry for well over, I think, 25 years as well. And so having had that experience, having that knowledge and understanding, and coming in and bringing that to LifeWave, it has been nothing short of amazing. And they were able to qualify as our top rank, in the company as Senior Presidential Director very quickly as well. So Andy and Mandy, thank you and welcome to our webinar today.
Hi, Gary. Thank you. Welcome everybody that's tuning in. We're super excited to be here, and we're just honored to be able to share a little of our journey and, some things that we've learned in the process.
Yeah, when you say we've been in the industry for 25 years, that makes me feel old. But thank goodness we have this technology to keep us young.
That's right.
That's right. And I've been in the industry for 26 years, almost 27. So I'm the same. I feel like I'm not old enough to be anywhere that long, but it's life. But we certainly do have some incredible technology that we can use to help with that.
That's right.
Very true.
Well, why don't we get started? Why don't you share kind of what your story, a little bit about your story, what got you here at LifeWave, so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, I'll start us off. So my wife and I, we have 2 kids, just very busy, very active lifestyle. And I suffered a shoulder injury that was just very persistent. Now, our background was performance nutrition and fitness. We were involved. We owned some fitness centers previously. And so, I knew what to do, but I wasn't getting results like I used to. And so I was frustrated, to be honest with you, is that I was limited in range of motion. I couldn't play golf. I couldn't play catch. The things that I enjoy to do with my family, I just couldn't do. And so I was to the point of not only being frustrated, but being desperate. I was looking for a way to help my body recover. And thank goodness my friend Ken and Diana Burke, he spoke up and started sharing with me just the experience that he had with X39. And it was his body's recovery that was very intriguing. So I started that day. I actually literally bought products from him that day. I came home and said, hey, I bought some stickers and we're going to try this, because it was new. It was all new. We had no background in this wearable technology. It was all new. And so we started using those. First few days, didn't really notice a big difference, but it was day 5 that I remember this, Garrett. We have a 2-story house, and I have a mirror at the top of the stairs. I stopped to, move my hair, and I realized that's my right arm on day 5. So for 14 months, my body wasn't able to recover. And in 5 days, my body had already started the reset process, which was just super amazing. And of course, Mandy, she was inspired, my mom, my sister, some great friends to try X39 as well. You want to share your experience?
Yeah. Well, I was using the patch along with him and having my own results, which is great. And so, I wasn't experiencing injury, but I was experiencing just the aging, decline, if you will. I was noticing just discomforts in my body. I wasn't able to do things like open spaghetti jars and peanut butter jars and all the things. Just my hands and knees weren't moving like they used to. A lot of frustrating back discomfort for many, many years. And within about 2 weeks, so for us, that was between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that all that went away. So just, getting your life back, getting your body back with this technology was incredible. And we began sharing it right away. And so when we were doing that, there were friends that just bought it because we were excited about it and said what it had done for us. So you're always going to have that area of trust within people that you do life with. Sometimes your family might be your biggest critic. Sometimes your best friends might be your biggest critics. But, we had some family and friends jump on board right away, and their results were equally or more incredible than what we were experiencing just wearing the patch for a few days and a few weeks. And so, that just that quickly turned into a business for us. And so I know we're going to touch on some points of that as well, but that's just how we got connected and how, we're still connecting people to this company in that very way, sharing that very story, sharing the story of others, and just helping people partner with us and get connected and wearing this patch because it's life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I may add kind of the next chapter, right, is all of a sudden these stories start developing. Our story, my mom's story, it's friends of ours' stories. So we went back to our friend Ken and said, what is going on with this company? Number one, how is it that we've never heard of this? Number two, is there a way, how can we be involved? Because we developed this philosophy. I can't not share this. I know we've got translators and that's terrible English, but the idea was I have to tell, when my neighbor injures her back, I can't not tell her about what X39 could do. When friends identify maybe a shoulder discomfort or, there's a limitation, I can't not tell them about the power of X39. And we realized it was that we were so excited about this that it just became natural. And when our friend Ken, really began to share with us, well, here's the history of LifeWave, the vision of David Schmidt, the impact of our previous products, what's happened since the launch of X39. That's when we started dreaming again, which is really exciting because we were also working full time, and so a lot of our dreams had been shrunk to the size of our paycheck. To be honest with you, is that we hadn't been on a family vacation in 4 years, just as an example. And there were certain things in our life that were stirring, things that we couldn't do because of time or finances, or things that we wanted to do but we couldn't because of time or finances. And that's when the opportunity of LifeWave just became very personal. And we said, this is amazing. This could help us accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And very quickly, we found people that had they were in the same scenario, that I've got dreams that I can't fulfill right now. I've got promises that I can't keep right now. How can I take advantage of this? And what happened was our team started growing. And much like we've experienced, is that our teammates are experiencing the same benefits. They love X39. They're excited to help people through the power of X39, but they also love the power of this opportunity. And so we couldn't be more excited. The last 18 months has been a whirlwind at our house. So thank you, Garrett, Geraldo, David Schmidt, I mean, the entire team. Just thank you for everything you guys have done. And yeah, it's exciting days ahead.
That's for sure. And thank you for sharing that background and kind of getting us a little bit better understanding what really not just got you here, but that kind of, really connected you to what David's, vision and everything else is. And certainly I've had my own experiences as well on how incredible these patches are. And so it's being able to see that and see the impact, to not only just see it for myself, but now, and I'm sure you've had this experience as well, where you get that text message from somebody who's going like, what's the deal? How do these things work? This can't work like this, where it literally is saying, you just changed my life,
Yep.
in a real way. And it makes a big difference. And certainly knowing that we're making that kind of an impact, not just on, we hope it's, a few people, but the reality is it's getting to a lot of people. It's getting to a larger and larger, group, and your group has certainly grown as well in the time that you've been here. And we're certainly excited to see that kind of growth. So, from the time that you've been here, maybe even reaching back into your past history, there's a certain element of, as your organization grows, and certainly when you reach the level of senior presidential director, that you need to have a certain level of leadership that you can help your team to learn and to grow and to hopefully improve, so that they can move along and they can also start to move up in the company, whether that's in rank or income. What I'm finding too is that I love about how the compensation plan works, and that is you actually make more by helping others make money. So you can't actually do well unless you're helping another person. And I think that's incredible. That's such an important part of what we do, is and that both in their health as well as the finances, it really are interconnected in being able to make that difference for people. But as you have that leadership, there's certain things that you need to learn as you go through it, because not everyone, when they get started, starts at the same place.
Right.
So, from your experience and this concept of lifelong learning, how does that interconnect with leadership, and why is that important, especially here at LifeWave?
Yeah, that is a great question. It is funny that our journey, started a long time ago. I mean, my parents were involved in a direct sales company when I was a teenager.
Well,
I remember hearing stories and just the mindset, the thought that this, you could build a business that's different than a traditional brick and mortar business. And I think that also, there's a moment, Garrett, where you recognize that there's things I don't know, right? And so as you experience that in life, and sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's exhilarating. And so when we first started, we got married and started, we were involved in direct sales, both in corporate America, but then started a direct sales company. And it was one of those environments that was just very value oriented. In fact, there was a statement, if you want to, you have to become more to achieve more, was just an extraordinary idea. I remember a friend of mine a long time ago, he asked me a very simple, very straightforward question. He said, do you know the difference between someone that cannot read and someone that does not read? And I said, I don't. And he said, there is none, which was very powerful. It was these ideas that I all of a sudden, it just changed my mind about learning. And so I'll give you one other quick example. I have some of our favorite books of the year. So we read a lot. We learn a lot. Our goal is to become better tomorrow than we are today. And we know if all of us collectively became a better leader tomorrow, then we're going to be able to impact more people. And so I had a friend of mine that he shared, imagine somebody spent maybe 6 months or 9 months and they jotted down the last 10 years of their journey in a book, or maybe they recorded it on a podcast. And so I get the benefit in a 4-hour span. I can learn the 10 years of victories and failures and mishaps and mistakes. I can learn from somebody, which is just very powerful. One other kind of soundbite is, if it's smart to learn from our mistakes, but it's wise when we can learn somebody else's mistakes. And so if we can begin to learn from the success or the failure of somebody else. Now, for Mandy and I, we're book readers. We love books. And so that kind of started the process. Of course, that was prior to YouTube. This is 25 years ago. Now there's YouTube and podcasts and just amazing things that we have the ability to get access to. But at the end of the day, we have to decide that I'm going to commit myself to learn and grow. In our car, I can listen to the radio, I can listen to talk, news, or I could listen to a podcast. Well, if that's a half an hour drive, that I could listen to someone that can help change my mind, to change my thinking, where if I could begin to learn more, Garrett, we knew nothing about stem cells, zero. When we started, we started studying to learn what are stem cells, how important are they, how significant are they, what are different, therapies and different ideas in the world of stem cells. And it was just amazing. We knew very little about binary hate plans. We actually knew zero, right? So when we stepped in, we said, okay, how can I begin to learn so that I can connect the dots and communicate with somebody that maybe is a traditional business owner, or maybe they're an airline pilot, or maybe they run a landscaping company. How can I begin to connect the dots so that we can serve them better? And that's driven by our kind of commitment, if you will, to learn and grow as leaders. Now, the beautiful thing is, as we duplicate that throughout our teams, is helping people make that journey. Helping people learn something that they didn't know, helping people develop a mindset that, okay, well, what if I could learn more about finance or about personal finance, investing? There's a lot of areas of life that you can kind of press into. And that's kind of become one of our passions, is that we know we want to help people become more so that we can help people achieve more.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that real quickly is that, we were taught early on. And I think a lot of, network marketing, direct sales companies, they do put an emphasis on personal growth, which is so important. And some places that you might find yourself, that's your biggest benefit, right? Is growing, maybe not earning, but growing as a person, because we were told early on, kind of newly married, fresh out of college, that it was the books you read, the people you meet, and the places you go were really the most kind of the three pillars, if you will. And we thought, gosh, okay. So it really made us look at who are we hanging around, right? The people mattered. The places where we found ourselves, that mattered. And I'm being real general because I don't want to, I don't want to shame anybody, but I'm just saying, if you're going to personally grow and be someone of influence, this isn't now, that word means something different today. It's not being an influencer, like I'm going to have a gazillion followers somewhere, but it's really, you know, am I going to be able to influence people because of, you know, my life and how I carry myself? Because we're looking for people that want to go where we're going. We're looking for people that want what we have, and we constantly want to pour that out to people. So, you know, I need to be filled up in order to pour something of substance out to others. And a lot for us, you know, coming from, you know, just, you know, college and, you know, a different environment from a working standpoint, you know, we didn't have much to offer. So we were constantly consuming content, if you will. And so, you know, it really helped us to go to, you know, we had conferences and we were showing up at things with the purpose of learning. And our pastor even said this the other day, is like, don't come to me. If you come to me, he said, if you come to me and say, that was well done. If you ever go to see a speaker or any kind and say, oh my gosh, they're well spoken, or they said something amazing, his response is, what did you learn? Because his hope is that anytime he's pouring out to someone, you know, that they're learning something on his behalf. So, you know, we've been fortunate to have some amazing mentors, you know, in this industry that have either been part of our upline, part of our downline, part of our sideline, part of the company, you know, and so it's been great. And we're seeing that here immensely within LifeWave, just with the people around the world. We've never had an international business. So to see even the international influence in what people around the world bring to a company like LifeWave and to the people of LifeWave is just incredible. You know, it's so impactful. I think it shows how vast the world is, but how small it is, and how similar we all are on just our life's journeys, which is so great. So to keep it practical, those are some of the things that we do, like Andy shared, you know, just constantly learning and growing. But also it's like, why you're doing it is also so important. Not only do we want to pour into our now teenage children, but also the people that come into our lives, you know, do we want to impact them as well? We know the product's going to impact them for sure. And being able to just kind of move forward with that. Yeah.
Love that. Well, so it's this concept of constantly learning. Then you had a number of things that you said there that I really love. You have to become more to achieve more. I think that is so true in this. It's that constant ability to become that makes really all the difference. It's like, you know, I think there was a quote, I'm going to slightly get it wrong, and I won't even be able to tell you who said it off the top of my head. But the idea is this, that whenever you set a goal, the important part is what you become from setting that goal rather than actually achieving the goal. And I think that is so true, because so often we set a goal, we work so hard for it, that we learn so much through the process of trying to achieve it. And then we get to it and we actually achieve it. We're kind of almost feel a little bit empty by the time we get there. It's like, well, wait, that's it, you know? But then you look back over the time and you realize the excitement is in the journey, more so than actually achieving it. And so that's the idea of continually focusing on and improving and getting better means that there's never an end point. You know, we're always continually moving forward.
Very true.
And I know that's something that David is very big on, is that continuous improvement. And he uses that in all aspects of the company, whether that's in our manufacturing, whether that's in our marketing, whether that's anywhere. We're continually improving and trying to get better. And so I love to see that starts at the top, but I also love that it's also so prevalent in our field leaders as well. The ones that are out there in the trenches working, you know, so hard with, you know, their teams and everything else. And so as we look at those teams and as they continue to grow and improve, how do you set it up where you have this culture within the team where everyone is trying to improve and where everyone's trying to take those steps at getting better?
Yeah, that's a great question. We you know, so throughout our team, we do book studies kind of every month. which is a very simple way for people to kind of connect. Now, a lot of times, that's big picture, and we hope that everybody plugs in. Not everybody does. I think there's a very powerful aspect of someone believing in someone else. When I connect with my friend Wes, who recently joined as a brand partner, it's because Wes is a champion, and I believe in Wes. But I also know that there's things that would be very valuable for Wes to learn. And so part of the reason that we read and learn and study is to know, how can I go impact Wes? How can I go impact the next person and the next teammate? And so if we have a variety of books, a variety of resources, podcasts, different things, and I'd love to share podcasts or even YouTube videos and messages, just short, brief ideas to help a teammate like Wes maybe change their thinking just slightly. Because of it, most of us who grow up, we're here in the U.S. It's amazing. People are dialed in from all around the world. We're here in the U.S. And in the U.S., we grew up in very conservative, middle class backgrounds. And so the dream that was told by our family for generations was to go get a great job. And, that was the dream. And so there's people that are fueling that idea inside of us. And then there's people that are fueling the idea of becoming an entrepreneur and having my own business. Then there's people that they're fueling other ideas, good and bad, right? And so I think something that Mandy shared was, it's the inner circle. It's the people that you have in your life. They're going to speak life into something. It may be your dream or it may be their dream. And what we realized is that for our family, they love us, they care about us. They were transplanting a dream for us that wasn't my dream. And so being connected, if you want to catch on fire, you gotta stay around the fire. So we stay around the fire. We stay connected with people that are excited. They've got a vision. They're growing. They're advancing in their LifeWave business, and we love to connect people around that fire. So many times, Garrett, there's videos or podcasts, sometimes books. Obviously, our book studies. We do some leadership retreats with our team. That's been really fun. We had an event called Destination Directors, so everybody that hit director had a chance. We did a weekend retreat, and it was really just a leadership event. It was amazing. Because so many people, I'll share one quick story. My friend Rebecca had just hit director. This is 9 weeks ago. And in the last 9 weeks, she's gone from director to presidential director. Just amazing. And it was the belief and the confidence and the excitement. And there were things that she began to learn about the power of this industry, the power of LifeWave, the power of X39. That changed the way that she's had conversations over the last 9 weeks. And the fruit, it's showing up. She's seeing this explosive growth simply because she was plugged in from a leadership standpoint. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. I would say the last thing I'll add is start with you, right? I can't help Wes if I'm not helping me. In fact, I can't even help my wife and my kids if I'm not helping me. So it all starts with us. And taking simple steps. It could be subscribing to a podcast, just a super simple thing that you can do. Most of us have, phones that we have access to podcasts. They're free. They're free. I mean, we have literally hundreds of books at our house. We spent an insane amount of money on books. Podcasts are free. And simple things that you can do right away. And it could be 30 minutes a day that you're listening to a podcast on the treadmill, right? Or 30 minutes a day, you're listening to a podcast on a walk around the neighborhood. All of a sudden, you're compounding these simple little disciplines that can create major return.
Yeah. And I'll add that, it's communication. I feel like from a team standpoint and developing that culture within your team. And if you feel like you're not part of much culture or you don't have much culture yet in your team, it's really about communication. So we have always tried to be just very available at any level. We were available to people when we first got started, available with questions, available. We wanted our words to become their words, right? So we had to be talking through, some best practices. We had to be talking, and of course, we're growing from the LifeWave standpoint to learn, what is appropriate to say and not appropriate to say, and how do we move the ball down the field when we're teaching, training, and mentoring our team. We were willing to take on that responsibility. I believe that's part of the reason why, not just in our team, but across the board in LifeWave, seeing so many people rise to high ranks. They're willing to take the race. They're willing to take ownership, planting their flag in the ground, saying, I'm taking, there's not an SPD here, or there's not a director here in my area. I'll be that director. What does it take? Well, it takes ownership, right? And you have to be available, because people then become they count on you. And so we've always been available. We have, we're always messaging, texting, doing Zooms. I just jumped off a Zoom with our team. We do a ladies Zoom. We do things to stay in connection and communication with our team, because that's so important to, we believe, important to their success, so that even if they're hearing the same message on a Zoom week in and week out, that's going to become what people say, right? So if we feel like from a presentation standpoint, we can move the ball down the field, we can help others do the same if they're plugged in and they're staying in connection, as well as friendship. We love that LifeWave now has 4 trips, hopefully always 4 trips available each year for the team at large, depending on where you're tuning in from. I don't know if it's always 4, depending on what level you're at. But even if there was just one trip to earn a year at LifeWave, go for it. Because like Andy mentioned, if to get on fire, you got to get around the fire. And we mean that fire, just that excitement and that burning desire to help more people, to do more, to be more. And so being able to run for that trip, because that's going to put you around the people that are winning, like-minded people, and just people that might be doing something that you're not yet doing. So we always go into trips like, who can we learn from? What can we take away from this environment? Because what we learned early on and are continuing to do, and LifeWave does this with excellence, is bringing the people together that are winning, that are growing, that are developing, so that we develop an on-ramp for hundreds and thousands of people to win here. And that's what we're excited about doing.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the concept of the different ways in which we can stay connected to build that community. And that could be, like you say, a women's, webinar that you do within your team, or it could be, like I love your what was it? The directors event that you did, I can't remember what you called it, but the fact that you're staying connected with the different groups, trying to make sure that they understand what that next level is from where they're at. And so it's this continuous, step-by-step improvement. And to see someone go from director to presidential director that quickly is incredible. And it's also got to be incredibly satisfying as someone who's been working with them, to be able to do that. Now, you mentioned a trip, and I just have to kind of point this out, because I think it's actually it's inspiring to me. But you guys had the chance to earn the trip to Bora Bora, but you weren't able to go. And the reason for that was for family. And to me, while it would be hard to turn down a trip, I will admit, especially to Bora Bora, one of those areas. And I've had a chance to go to French Polynesia before, but not to Bora Bora, which I've heard is absolutely breathtaking, incredible. But the fact that you're willing to give that up for your kids, I think is inspirational, but also puts first things first, which I think is also an important part of, any, whenever you're doing things that really matters. If the people that matter most take second to other things, then of course it's not. I think we're probably missing the boat a little bit. So, I know you probably didn't expect me to share. I think it's incredible.
That's okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
It was definitely a tough decision, if you're hearing that news for the first time. But it's we did this business years ago to have time with our family, to make that a priority, because when you're working full time, you might be as a husband or as a wife, you might be away from those that you care most about, whether that's your parents or your own children or whoever that might be. You might be away from them the majority of your life, and that's not the life that we wanted. So like you said, Garrett, just coming into this and knowing, we didn't know, obviously that these trips were going to come about, and that the timing wasn't going to work for us. But we knew, our son was finishing his junior season as a high-level soccer athlete, going to national championships here in the States. Big commitment on his part. Obviously, we'd made years of commitment for him. He'll be, a rising senior and then going off to college. And so yeah, it really didn't take a whole lot of thought. Our only thought was, how can we do both? That was our thought. Unfortunately, they overlapped perfectly. And so there wasn't a way to do both. And no judgment for a family that would choose, the trip over, over a tournament or an experience, with their family. So individual, so specific. If our son were 9 and just, in a little local tournament, chances are we probably would have been in Bora Bora. It feels, as your family, and we're, close as a family, and as our kids are, kind of aging out of the house, we feel like, some of those experiences, we can't miss, and we hope to not miss, any experiences. And I will share with you real quickly is one of the reasons that drew us to LifeWave when it did, and we know just God's timing was so perfect, is that because of Andy's full-time job, he missed our daughter's state finals golf tournament her senior year of high school. So we weren't really involved heavily in, we were kind of dabbling in a direct sales company. We were in a direct sales company for about 4 years. And so we were working back in the corporate world. He was in corporate sales, didn't have very many days off of work. And we had that moment of disgust that he missed something that we'll never get back. She'll never have a state finals golf tournament as a senior in high school. That's, fortunately she went 4 times. She's a, excellent athlete, but that was her last one, and he missed it due to work obligations. So it was kind of outside of our control. And when you feel like something is outside of your control, it can either really frustrate you and just make you mad, and it may have for a few moments, but it pushed us to be on the lookout for something that could come our way and change our circumstances, because our circumstances were not healthy at that point in our life. And that was November, right before that was like within weeks of LifeWave coming across our path. And so when LifeWave came across our path and we started wearing the patch, that burn of, you need to get your life right again and reset your priorities, was already at the forefront of us. And so that's kind of where a year and a half later, we see ourselves, with the freedom now that LifeWave has helped us get back, is that we have the freedom to say, what do I want to do with my time? And where do I want to go? And who do and on all those things. And so we want that for so many people, but sometimes we at least needed that push to say, somebody else is controlling your life right now. Are you going to stay there, or are you going to go after your dreams and go for something to change your circumstances? And so that's kind of where we were before, and then what brought us to that point. Kind of a little backstory for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Fantastic. But again, I think it just goes, it shows, where priorities are. And I think they were correct priorities. And I've had the unfortunate opportunity in my life to miss some of my kids' big moments as well. In fact, I missed one of my second oldest son's graduation. And that certainly was one of those areas where I was similar thing where I'm like going, I'm going to make sure that never happens again. So
that's right.
But yeah, but that's it. I mean, when it comes to everything we're talking about, this idea of improvement, it really is understanding, what really is the most important thing, as you go through, that process. I want to touch on one other thing really quick as well. Something you mentioned a minute ago, and I really like the concept of, and that is how important are events that you have with your team. It could be corporate events, it could be your personal team events, but how important are events in that process of learning?
Yeah,
that's great.
That's a fantastic question, and
so important.
We love. Obviously, the technology, like this technology, is amazing. This is a game changer. We're communicating with people globally, via technology. It's so incredible. But there's certainly a different scenario when you get a chance to gather with friends and teammates and share ideas. So, we've done events in the past, like we do an event called Business and Burritos. So we talk business, make burritos, just hang out at the house. It's a time for people to really press in on their dream. What is it that you're dreaming about, and what do we need to go to do to make it happen? And so those environments, I feel like sometimes people, I know this is true for us, is that sometimes we just connect with a message at a deeper level. Sometimes if I'm not in, bedroom number 4 at my house, if I'm in the environment, sometimes it's just the process of being in the environment, surrounded by other leaders. I'm inspired, I'm excited. And so we value in-person events when we can. So we do travel to go to help teammates do some in-person events. We organized a retreat, which we called a destination director, which was just really a great way for us to just go step away from everyday life, everyday routine, to really zero in on what are the things that I'm dreaming about right now? What are the things that I have in my life, but I want to get rid of? Or what are the things that I want in my life that I don't have? And as we begin to work through that, I feel like it's in those environments where people really have a chance to become very transparent, very authentic. And then we can take and build a blueprint of, okay, how do I go get the things that I want to achieve? And sometimes that involves personal growth. Sometimes that involves leadership. Sometimes that's maybe communication or just their mindset and different ideas. I love it that there are people, we all know them. It's when that person enters a room and you go, I'm excited they're here. And then we also know those people when we see somebody enter the room and we kind of duck and because we know that they're just going to, maybe drain the environment, right? And so if we become champions for people and we have a group of people together where we can collectively say, hey, let's go help support, encourage, mentor, challenge, celebrate, let's go find a group of people where we can be difference makers every day in every environment that we go in. That looks different, obviously, for everybody, but I feel like our in-person events allow people to authentically connect with that event, sometimes even at a different level than Zoom. Now, the dilemma is that we're in the North America, right? So unfortunately, that's hard to do. So sometimes we do leadership events, but we do them via Zoom. We do a team call every week where it's just gathering leaders. We call them wins of the week. And so we just celebrate. What kind of win did you have this week? And it may be an amazing X39 story. It may be an incredible, hey, I read a chapter in a book, and that's my accomplishment. Or I read a chapter in the book, and here's what I learned from it. And so we love to celebrate kind of collectively on Zoom, but we also love the chance when we can to connect with people in person.
Yeah. And I'll just add that, the in-person events, we were taught from, early on that And like Andy said, though, I mean, there are some great aspects to having the technology, but being in the room does have its benefits. I mean, not only as our product energy, we have energy, and we know that so much more now that it's like, wow, this room is electric. Like you feel people's energy, you feel people's excitement. You hug them. There's inspiration. There's so much that happens. You just, where you're supposed to be. And then on the sidelines of meeting people and having conversations. I remember meeting people at the LifeWave convention, just hearing their stories from other countries and different things that just really broadened my view to see like, wow, there's commitment from people that get in the room at, just at a deeper level, and there's sacrifice in that. And, one of the things that we were taught early on is like, to get your MBA, you got to go to business school. To get your law degree, you got to go to law school. To do the things that you want to do, you've got to get the proper training along the way. Because as good as you may think you are, and we knew we weren't very good, is that you're gonna need some training along the way from top leaders, from the corporate office, David Schmidt, the founder, all the things. And so we knew that at some point, which I'm thankful we were able to do pretty early on, is get in the room and have that training, so that we want to be, we want to know LifeWave, we want to know the ins and outs, we want to know that we want to be part of that culture. And that was really kind of our test. One of our first events that we went to was like, we were testing the culture of the team, and we were just unsure because we didn't know anyone. We didn't, outside of the person that invited us to LifeWave and told us about the patch, we'd never heard of this company. It never crossed our path. We didn't know anybody that was involved. And so it is a test of culture, and you don't necessarily capture that online like maybe you'd hope to. So being in the room is very important. And as soon as you can do that, I think your conviction is gonna come forth to bring conviction in your life as to what you're gonna do with this, what you're gonna do with it as a business, even if it's just as, a product that you're going to share with others, and however that looks for you. But I believe it is a big part of the process. And we might have lost a little bit of that because of, a worldwide, event that happened. We lost some in-person activity. And I actually believed that was maybe a thing of the past, during that time. And, but I'm here to tell you, it is more needed now than it even was before. So that experience, I think, kind of reshaped us, and it's actually stronger and more needed in, I believe, the world today. So we're at all the in-person events.
So, yeah, we have our ticket for the global convention.
Yeah.
We encourage you guys to do the same. Get there; it will blow you away.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. And it's interesting. The in-person events make such a big difference. And we did this round of events in Canada about a year ago now, actually almost a year ago. And we went and we did road shows. So we started off, first hour was introducing people to LifeWave. The second hour was more of a business training, so people who are just getting started could understand how to get started in some of the basic elements of the business. Well, as we had everyone coming in, we'd patch everyone, and even if they were a brand partner, maybe that wasn't patched in the moment, we're going to patch them too, right? And I found that people that are patched have a different energy than people who don't,
It's true.
And so without even realizing what we were doing, we were creating this energy in the room just by making sure everyone had an X39 on, and whether they were guests or not. And of course, inevitably, those who were guests that were just hearing it for the first time, they're kind of looking around going, what is this feeling I'm feeling right now? But I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling good, and so it was quite impactful. And I've even seen some teams that will be like, when they start their webinars, they're like, okay, if you're not patched, get your patches on, so it's probably a good suggestion anyway, but yeah, no, I do. I think it's amazing that when being in person does make a huge difference. So obviously our international convention, if you can possibly get there, absolutely do it. And there's other events that are happening all over. I know there's a couple of big events coming up this weekend as well, and that here in the U.S. So when you can and where you can plug in, it can make all the difference. In fact, I can't tell you how many times people will say that, it wasn't until I heard this at convention from somebody, and it's the same thing my upline's been telling me for the last 2 years, but it wasn't until that person said it that all of a sudden clicked. I even had someone say to me once that they believe, and from my experience, I actually have grown to agree with this statement as well, and that is what you get in a convention in that 3 days, it takes 6 months to learn outside of convention. Yep. And so that's the kind of the value that those type of events can have an impact on understanding. And what I'll also say is the actual general sessions and the training that you get there is very important. It's very good, but some of the best training happens outside of the event. It's when you're back and there's a group of people sitting around talking in the lobby, or they're talking up in someone's room and then just going over, what are we doing? What's working? What's not working? And those are the times where a lot of magic happens as well. So that's why these events really are quite impactful and quite powerful in that process of learning and growing.
Right.
Okay. We've got 8 minutes to go. What I would love to do right now as we're kind of finishing up is to maybe start off by giving us what are some tidbits or some principles or even some suggestions on maybe books that someone who's just getting started out in network marketing, what you would recommend them to start with?
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's probably one of the most profound books that we've ever read is a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. It's kind of the gold standard. It's one of the top rated leadership books ever. And just as an example, the law of the lid is chapter 1. So we all have this mental lid. The example he uses is that's how they train fleas, is they put a lid on the tube and the fleas hit their head, and then they can take the lid off and the fleas won't jump out. Well, all of us have that mental lid, just as an example. So that's just one of 21. And it's an extraordinarily powerful book. Probably my best book of the year is a book called The Power of One More by Ed Milet. This is an extraordinary book. It'll take you 4 hours. This I can guarantee this is going to change your life. Reading this book, it may not change your LifeWave business, but I guarantee you it's going to change something about your life. And so those are two of our favorites, especially for brand new teammates. Now, Ed Milet has a great podcast. Craig Rochelle has a phenomenal leadership podcast that's extraordinary. So it's kind of a combination. If you're a reader, fantastic. If you're not, that's okay, because there's other mechanisms that you can use, like audiobooks. A friend of mine, Janet, she loves audiobooks. Mm-hmm. That's how she stays connected. For some people, it's podcasts, which are just, smaller segments, kind of like a chapter of a book that's updated every day. And there's amazing things on YouTube that's free, which is incredible. So we don't have lack of access to amazing content. We have lack of desire to consume it. So if we begin to apply ourselves with the desire to learn, the desire to grow, the content is readily available. All the resources that are readily available are just amazing. So that would be a few simple steps.
Yeah, and I'll just add, a friend of ours, he wrote a book, and he's now was a great mentor, is still a great mentor of ours, and in part of LifeWave now as well. Just journeyed their direct sales experience, because I think sometimes you need to learn from people who are in a similar business. So there's business tools and their leadership books. And then there's also understanding, this took me a while to understand and really have a love for this industry and what it can do for just, the average person, wherever you are in the world, that this can be the opportunity that takes you where you want to go. I'm not David Schmidt. I don't have hundreds of patents, right? There aren't a lot of opportunities Now I tried to get one, and that was past my capacity. And so, it just makes me think like it drew me into this industry, that this is one of the best industries in the world. This is an industry to be proud of. This is an industry to share with other people. And so if you're kind of in that space where you're like new to the industry, not just new to LifeWave, or maybe you had, some unsuccesses in the past, or you had some company failures in the past. Our friend wrote a book called Believe. His name's Danny McDaniel. Phenomenal book about their story. And because we believe that it takes a lot of belief. And sometimes, and what we were taught early on, is that somebody is going to believe in you before you believe in yourself. That's just kind of how human nature works. Like we believe in our children that they can accomplish things that they don't even know are in them, right? And then somewhere down the road, they capture the belief for themselves that I can do this. Our son and his friends are working towards, going to college for soccer. And one of their biggest fears is that the hard work wasn't going to pay off. So there was just a lack of belief in themselves that what they were doing wasn't going to get them to where they wanted to be. And now, just as a process, it's all a process. So they're seeing that it is happening, right? So that belief is now there, like this is happening. The hard work did pay off. So sometimes we just have to put in the work, to get the results that we desire. So Danny McDaniel's book, Believe, is phenomenal. I would put that in anybody's hands. Earlier the better. Yeah. And to share someone's, experience in this industry.
And they've had quite the experience in this industry. We don't need to get all the details, but
yes.
At their ups and their downs, but they've come out a bit stronger for it. And so I actually want to share one book. This is one that I actually have shared with my kids almost every night, or probably, what do you call it? Till they're probably about 10 years old. I still read it to my two youngest. My oldest can almost quote it now, but it's All the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. If you can't learn it from Dr. Seuss, it's probably not worth learning. I'm just kidding, obviously.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
It's a classic. Leadership classic.
It's one thing to Ryan Barson, our senior vice president of sales, said this once, and I totally agree with it. But most of the things that you need to learn for network marketing, you learned as a kindergartner. It's just the basics of how to communicate, the little things, show and tell. That's once, so there's just little things like that can make a big difference. But I love all the different ideas. In fact, I love all the different suggestions that are going through the chat right now, as well as the different books and things that they're recommending. But we are right at the top of the hour, but so we don't really have time to go through any questions and whatnot, although I don't know we have a lot of questions, but we certainly have a lot of feedback, and that feedback has been nothing but positive. Now, I want to mention one thing here as well. Sometimes people will watch, like people like you, Andy and Mandy, and will say, gosh, they're so amazing, and they talk so well, and they look like they got their act together, and that's just not me, But one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know who said it, but I still like it, is every master was once a disaster. We didn't get here by accident. We did it because we stayed consistent, working towards it every single day. And because of that, we get to the point where we're at today. So certainly where they see us today and where maybe we were in the past might be a big difference, So never look at one other person and say, oh, I can never be like that, because the reality is you could probably, and this is no knock at anyone, but you could probably be better. But if you put the time and effort and focused on it every day and made that little bit of improvement every single day, it can make all the difference. So before we go, I'll give you one last second. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Yeah, it's great. It's so true. Yeah. And that's our heart too. So thank you for sharing that, Garrett, is that we want people, we've had a journey, 20 some years in this industry of growth, still going through things, still working through things. We like to refer to ourselves sometimes as ducks. We look smooth on the water, but our little feet are churning underwater, so, we're all in progress wherever your progress is right now. Just start and continue. The middle is always hard. Like Garrett said in the beginning, we're not necessarily working towards a finish line. And so if you just keep the journey in the forefront, you're going to just love what you do and not work a day in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in closing, just you had mentioned this, Garrett, it's the person you become on the way to the goals that you have, right? That person is the person that your spouse deserves. That's the person that your kids are hoping that you become. So it takes commitment, it takes grit, but it's very doable. And you can do that in 10 minutes a day, 20, 30 minutes a day. When you begin to hear and read and see ideas and things that begin to stretch your mind, we've always heard that your mind, once it's stretched, it never goes back to its original shape, right? This plasticity of the brain. Well, if we begin to grow and learn and develop, it's one little step and then another little step, because a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. But in the journey, you're going to look back and go, I'm not where I want to be, but thank goodness I'm not where I used to be. And that starts with a decision. So we hope you'll decide. And Garrett, thank you for hosting this event.
Thanks so much for having us.
No worries. Well, I feel blessed that we've had a chance to have this time with you, to be able to share your knowledge and understanding with our LifeWave family. And we look forward to catching up with everyone next month on our LifeWave Connect Business webinar. Thanks everyone, and bye-bye for now.